Okay, so you finally watched enough videos to want to stop scrolling. Maybe you've even started a new hobby. Maybe you started going to the gym. Maybe you even started that art project that you were putting off for so long. But the first few days of doing this, you're finally realizing that this is actually freaking hard. That you find yourself picking up your phone, realizing that you can't quite do it because this thing is distracting you, whether or not it's pulling you away from making intentional connections or pulling you away from the important thing that's right in front of you, and you can't focus on what's most important. Maybe you're stuck on just researching the thing that you've always wanted to do, or you're just stuck kind of doom scrolling between the sessions of actually productivity. If this is you, you probably have a bigger problem than you really think. But if you watch to the end of this video, full screen, don't look at the comments, don't speed this up 2 times, really just sit there and watch this video. Like, don't do anything else, don't get distracted, put your phone away. If you really watch to the end of this video, your attention span will increase 2.336%. I'm not even kidding. Okay, maybe not like literally, but your attention span is gonna get better. I dare you to finish this video because by the end of this, you will discover something about yourself that you may have not known before. So let's just start by talking about where the conversation of attention span really began. So in the early 2000s, our attention span on average was about 2.5 minutes. All right, this meant that whatever we're doing, we had about 2.5 minutes before we get distracted. Nowadays, it's gone down to 8 seconds. 8.25 seconds is the most recent research that tells you that our attention span is only for that period of time. Guess how long the attention span of a goldfish is? A goldfish's attention span is 9 seconds. That means that we can no longer focus longer than a goldfish. I mean, that's just crazy. I think the ability for us to focus on one task and not do anything else has substantially decreased to the point where we aren't even able to carry a conversation nowadays. You know, anti-socialism is a big thing. You know, we struggle with even getting things done on a day-to-day basis, even down to our basic chores. And the problem with this is that it's not really your problem. At least it's not completely. Society has created this way in which we are consumed by short-form content. The algorithms of social media, of YouTube, has kept us hooked and have been built in order to keep our attention at a minimum. Although this is good for companies and businesses that are trying to grow and keep your attention span, this is really not great for our mental health. The short-form content is substantially decreasing our ability to maintain attention over the span of a long period of time. But just because society has built this system in order to keep us hooked, it doesn't mean that it's not our responsibility. I think we have an ability to counter that and to fight that and do something about it. And so how do we solve this? How do we break away from the constant cycle of consuming and doom scrolling, being sucked away out of reality of what real life really is, and be sucked away into the alternate reality of what this is when this doesn't promise us true happiness? First thing I'd recommend is to find your baseline. Realize that your baseline is essentially the amount of stimulation that you need to feel normal. And right now it might be all the way up here. Right now it might feel like you need this much stimulation in order to just feel normal. But the goal of this is to bring it down to a lower point. And once you're able to bring that baseline down, then everything else in life becomes so much more exciting. Everything in life becomes so much more fulfilling because you are no longer expecting that life is going to always be up here. But the reality is that life is really down here, and that's where reality lies. Is that short-form content, Instagram, content reels, all these things provide a highlighted version of life that makes you think that life is always at this point when really reality is here. And when you experience reality in life and go back to life from this highlight reel, of course it's going to feel like you're not doing the things that you should be doing. Of course it's going to feel like you're not achieving at the point, at the extent that you're supposed to be achieving, because you've been living life at this point when your life is really here at this point. And so the first thing to do is to find your baseline. Find out where you are and so that you can learn what it will look like to bring that down, right? And the next thing is to do the complete opposite. Literally embrace boring things. Like, I'm serious, just like literally do the most boring things. Spend time walking outside without your phone, leave it at home, and just stare out into nature. Make time to space out, make time to daydream, make time to stand in line for your groceries and just talk to someone maybe, or not, and just stare off and people watch, right? All these things are actually a lot healthier for our souls or our bodies than we might think. A lot of times we feel like we fill in those spaces, those times when we're waiting in line, those times when we're waiting for an appointment with our phones, and this thing that it temporarily fills this void of empty time that we feel that we so-called is productive is really pulling us away from the reality of life that is just waiting, that is just sitting there and realizing that life doesn't have to constantly be this execution of things, of doing this and then doing B and then doing C, right? Life is filled with these moments of doing things, but it's also filled with these moments of rest, of maintaining, just being yourself, of being okay with being alone, with sitting in your thoughts, right? And I really think society has missed this key point because we are so often taken away by this that we can't necessarily understand ourselves, of what's going on mentally, of what's going on in our own brains. And that's a problem, obviously, because when we do have the chance to voice out our opinions, we sometimes lash out at people, we hurt others, and that's obviously not the type of people that we want to be. My experience with trying to find my baseline has been a long journey. I'm not going to say like it's easy. I'm going to keep it real with y'all. Like, I still use my phone when I wake up this morning, some days, right? But most days I really try to wake up and avoid picking this up for like the first hour of my day. I think that's a huge habit that I think I realize is so important, because when we start our day with something that pulls us away, that something that is distracting inherently and trying to keep us sucked into a version or a perspective of life that isn't really true from what actually is and what you're actually experiencing, then that sets up the stage for a very unrealistic day, of a very unhappy day. And so no wonder society feels disappointed. No wonder we are always underwhelmed, right? We live in a space and time where this is not the truth. This isn't the reality. And we need to recognize that, and we need to put this aside and really live life and be genuine with it. And so whatever that looks like, putting your phone, on Do Not Disturb in the morning for a set amount of time. I know Apple users can do this with a set timer or different focus modes. If you're on Android, it's probably some type of equivalent. But doing this, I think, is very helpful in terms of setting yourself up for success for the rest of your day. If you guys made it to the end of this, congratulations. You have successfully increased your attention span by 2.33 whatever percent I said in the beginning. But going back to the point, I really think that attention span is something that we all need to work on. It's something that we often just don't really pay attention to, and we play the passive role of just consuming media, and this obviously has an effect on our own ability to focus throughout the day, throughout our lives, throughout the rest of just our ability through the rest of our day to focus on the things that are really important. And so if that's important to you, my name is AJ. I make videos like this all the time on self-improvement, and it really is a passion of mine to help people that really feel stuck in this age of social media, right? I'm in my 20s. I understand what it's like to grow up in a culture where there's billions of distractions, of things that are trying to grab at our attention, and we can't really focus. And that's what the premise of this video is about. And realizing this, I think being able to help others and be a resource, a beacon of light, to realize that this is the situation, but it doesn't have to be the result that we accept. And so if you're following along with that journey, if you believe in the same things and want to change and make a lasting difference in your own life and those of the lives around you, feel free to join and subscribe. We're trying to build this channel to 1,000 by the end of January 2026. If you can help us do that, that'd be amazing. And we will see you guys in the next one.